I'm Jim Moynagh, all-terrain tackle pro and blackfish pro. We are at the Spring Park Landing on Lake Minnetonka, which is right behind me. And this is really kind of where I would have to say the foundation or the springboard, probably the springboard is a better description. This is a springboard for me of transitioning from just a recreational tournament angler to actually being a professional angler. Back in the day, we had some really big money tournaments out here, and I was fortunate enough to do well in those and bank some money and then have my career take off from there. So today we're gonna go out. It's mid-September. We're gonna go out and just try to catch some largemouths out here as these bass transition from their summer haunts to their shallow haunts. So that's the goal. We'll see if we can't catch one. Hopefully a couple big ones in the process. So it's morning here on Minnetonka, and with the low light, sometimes I feel like the fish like to get on the edges really good, or they'll roam off the edges, the weed edge I'm talking about. So my plan of attack is to try some of these hard bottom areas off the edge of the weeds with a all-terrain football jig with a twin tail on there. The thing about Minnetonka nowadays, I haven't fished a tournament out here since 2010, and here we are 12 years later, 2022. And every lake changes, and this one's had a lot of changes since 2010, last time I tournament fished here. And I really haven't fished out here just maybe once or twice a year for sponsor events since 2010. So it's almost like I'm fishing a new lake now, because the weed lines are deeper. Because what's happened is zebra mussels have come in the lake, they've filtered, they've cleaned the water up, so you get more sun penetration. With more sun penetration, that allows aquatic vegetation to grow deeper. So you get deeper weed lines, which means some of the old rock piles that were outside the weeds that I used to fish are now inside the weeds. And some of the rock piles that were too deep are probably ones I now probably need to start looking at to catch fish off of. So we're out here we're gonna hunt and peck around on some of these exposed rocks that are a little deeper than the weed line and see how that goes. And if we don't catch them, then we'll just have to start pulling into the weeds and maybe start using like the all-terrain grass jig or something like that to flip the deep weeds with that. So that is the plan. We fished a little bit so far and we've only had a sunfish bite, so gotta find them. I actually started out as primarily a shallow water fisherman. So when you get to Minnetonka, you better know how to fish shallow and deep, particularly the deep stuff in June, July, and August. So when we were having our money tournaments out there on Tonka, it was Mark Raveling, Shane Raveling, Ted Capra, Dean Capra, Tony Capra. Those are the guys that dominated the tournaments. And just out of observation and from what people are saying, it's like, yeah, these guys are fishing the deep milfoil edges, deep milfoil patches, and that was foreign to me. But I said it, I made my quest, I made my goal to figure out how to catch bass out of deeper water on Minnetonka, because I could go around and fish the shallow stuff and catch fish, but those fish were not the winning fish in June, July, August. You had to be out, and I wasn't out, so I had to learn out, and I did. At the same time, but out means not only was it outer grass, but rocks too. So the rock bite was something that I'd heard about, and I made it my quest to learn how to fish them rocks. And about that time in the early 90s is when I first found a football jig There's two guys out west, Randy Best and Ted Miller. They were using a football jig out west. Those are the guys I learned it from. I brought it to Minnesota, and immediately I discovered how easy you could read the bottom with it. And then I kept fishing all these rocks initially, not catching nothing, and I couldn't understand why, but I just fought through it. I'm like, I don't care if I don't catch a fish all day, I'm gonna just fish rocks, rocks, rocks. Then eventually I started catching some fish and then started identifying what type of rocks I want to look for, when to fish them, under what conditions, and then it just kind of took off from there. Well, there's our first legitimate largemouth this morning. This was on the all-terrain football jig, and I've actually trimmed off the weed guard. I've just pulled that right out of there because with this grass, I mean, we got a little bit of coontail and stuff we're fishing, but I can just pop it through that. So there, we got about a 2-pounder there. So that fish hit right on the fall. I cast it out there, and as soon as I engaged the reel, the fish was on. So hopefully there's some competitive fish sitting out there. Look at all that Don't know how decent. Oh yeah, it's a nice one. That's a good one. There we go. Quality largemouth there. All right, hey, look at that one. Close to 4 pounds. That was on the all-terrain football jig. Just right on the edge of the weeds here. There's a little bare spot on the weed edge, and that's where that one is. That's like 3.5 to 4 pounds. But cool, where there's one, there's often more. So he was right over there, 30 feet out from the boat. Let's see if we can't pop another one, same spot. Or not. There he is. Oh, it's a nice one too. Nice one. Okay, stay out of the trolling motor. Took 2 casts over there to get him. I don't know if it's the same one, but the first cast right there just kind of mouthed it. It's probably about 20 feet from where I hooked that other one and lost him. Yay! That's another one close to 4 pounds. Nice fish, long and lean. So the way I'm fishing this football head today is not quite the traditional way. Because these fish are kind of mixed in with the sparser weeds. So I'm just making like medium range pitches with this and then just kind of popping it through the weeds. It'll catch on the coontail or the milfoil because we have both types of weeds down there. And I'll feel it catch a little bit and then I'll pop it through there and then it'll fall back to the bottom. And so that's how I'm fishing it. And then of course they hit it, you know, after you pop it out of there. So yeah, so this is the all-terrain tackle football jig, which I have removed the brush guard because I really don't want it in there for what I'm doing. If I was fishing a lake that had stumps, brush piles, that sort of stuff, or docks, sometimes I use these around docks, I always keep the brush guard in that case, but in this case I removed it. And this is a jig I helped design many years ago for all-terrain tackle. We put like the lifelike dimpling on there and some We designed it with some creases in the head there, just kind of make it look like a tail of a crayfish, really. Yeah, and you know, throw a trailer on there. This one's a Billy Rub Baits makes that trailer right there. Although I'm not sure if he has that one on the market right now, but I've caught a lot of fish on that trailer, so it's pretty cool. Sometimes I use a twin tail trailer. Actually, historically, that's what I started with on my football heads, was a twin tail trailer, and I do use those sometimes as well still. But these legs are almost like a twin tail trailer, really. So anyways, I kind of want to throw this back out there where I just caught that one. So I'm going to quit talking to you guys and see if I can't catch one again. My first good payday with a rock jig or football head would have been in 1994. That's when I took third place in what was then called the U.S. Don Shelby Invitational. It was a 3-day tournament. I was leading it after 2 days off of a big day 2 catch off the football head. And nobody was doing this. Nobody was doing what I was doing. So I jumped into a nice lead, but then the third day, for whatever reason, they got off that bite, and I kind of struggled, but I still came in with the okay limit of fish and held on to third. But third place paid a boat, boat motor trailer, so that was really a big win for me. Then it was the next year, so I had a whole nother year to keep working on my football fishing, my football jig fishing on Tonkas. So the next year was in 1995. It was in the 1995 Don Shelby U.S. Invitational, and I was able to lead that tournament wire to wire with all those fish. Most all of them caught on a football jig. I did catch a few on a Carolina rig, but it was basically the football jig that got it done. Let's talk about my biggest tournament win ever that helped springboard me into my professional career. That would be the 1997 FLW Forrest Wood Open on Lake Minnetonka. So, but to get into this tournament, how is just a brand new young pup like myself going to get into this tournament? Okay, there was a demand to get into these tournaments. There was waiting lists to get into all these FLW Tour tournaments. I think this was the second year of the FLW Tour, and there's a big demand because they threw out all kinds of money into the payouts, and every guy wanted to get into these things. So they announced a schedule for '97, and I see Lake Minnetonka as the Forrest Wood Open for $200,000 first place prize. I'm like, how am I going to get into those? So step one was sign up for all of them. So I signed up for every FLW Tour tournament. I was put on the waiting list for all of them. I got called off the waiting list for the Ross Barnett tournament. So I'm like, I'll go there, show my allegiance. I'll go there because I want them to call me off of Minnetonka 4 months later. So I go to Ross Barnett, had a good turn. I just missed, I finished 11th or 12th. So that was awesome. Then, so then it gets 4 months later or whatever it is, Lake Minnetonka's coming up, and they had no off limits, or there was no off limits period for any of those early FLW tournaments. So in other words, you could practice as much as you wanted. So I started fishing on Lake Minnetonka 9 days before that Forrest Wood Open, the first day of competition, just hoping to get pulled off the waiting list. And in that 9 days, I mean, I found multiple schools of fish. It was really a good 9 days of practice, and learned a lot about the lake and the current condition of the lake. And they finally called, I think it was like 1 or 2 days before the actual event that they called me off the waiting list. And I was just drooling at that. I was like, awesome, because I'm gonna take that first place prize. There was no doubt in my mind I was gonna take that first place prize. There's another one. That's the third one right here without moving the boat. Yay. Another one. Very cool. That's like 2.5 pounder. Yay. Oh, look how beautiful that one is. All right. Don't tell the others about me. It's our secret. All right, what do we got here? And number 4 without moving the boat. 2 pounder. Yay. Shh, don't tell anybody. All right, so we've got caught 4 fish here without moving the boat. And very typical in Lake Minnetonka. A lot of the fish in the grass beds like to school up, and even when they get on the rocks, they'll school up too. And that's what seems to be happening right here. You know, sometimes the schools will be just little schools of fish, like I've caught 4 here, and then they shut down. But sometimes, man, if you really get into them, I mean, I've had times where I've caught 30 fish without moving the boat. And as far as today, the better fish, you know, this is the second place now where we've caught a better fish. Like one of these 4 fish here I caught was close to 4 pounds. And like the other spot where we caught the other nice one, it seems to be a little, you know, it's not the very deep edge of the weeds. It's kind of up in about 12 feet where you can find a hard bottom. So that gives me some ideas of some other places we can try after we're catching more here. Hopefully we get more here. Made a few flips now without getting another bite, but hopefully. Come on. That might be one right there. Yep. Couldn't get any more on the jig, so I went to a finesse bait, and I got me a finesse fish. That there's like a 10, 11 ounce bass. But thank you very much to having a 10 or 11 ouncer. I appreciate the bite nonetheless. Gotta love catching fish, whatever size they are. This is just a drop shot rig. It's got a 3/8 ounce sinker, 2/0 hook, a Billy Rub Baits hot shot. And you know, the jig is a good big fish bait. Good bait for, I was gonna say active fish, but not only active fish, but even neutral fish. But these fish have seen, you know, I caught those 4 on the football head here. Couldn't catch any more on it, so got to pick up a different bait. This time it's a finesse bait to try to just milk out another fish or 2 out of the spot. And the 4 fish on the jig were all kind of nice fish. This drop shot fish was a little bit on the small side, but it was a fish nonetheless. And I actually threw this kind of beyond like the key area where those other 4 fish were. It kind of made a longer cast. So that little fish was kind of on the outlier of the primary place where I've been catching the others. There we go. Pretty fish. Football jig. Fishing it in the weeds though. But not dragging it. You can't drag this. It's more of a popping action. Hopping, popping. And not the super heavy weeds either. Although that fish was kind of in a little bit heavier section. So, first day of the tournament comes, and lake for 150 boats, the lake fish is small. And I remember like the first 3 or 4 spots I went to on that first day, there were guys already sitting there. So, but because because of my 9 days of practice and just knowing what to do, I finally pulled up on a spot where nobody was and just started putting fish in the boat. I had a good first day. I think I was somewhere in the top, between 10th and 20th after the first day. Second day I go out, having a much better day, and I might have been first place after the first 2 days after my second day. From what I recall, I think I wasn't first. But what they do, okay, back then they re-zeroed on day 3, and they only have the top 10 anglers fish. So I'm fishing day 3, there's only 10 of us, and to advance to the last and final day on day 4, you gotta be top 5 out of those 10 guys. So I go out and I kind of have a iffy, sketchy kind of a day 3. There we go, there's the fish. Get in the net now. Way to go, Steve.
Good job, good job.
Tommy, I think you're gonna notice that there's a lot of extra spectators, a lot of press around, and a lot of them are following Jim there. And I guess it's because he's from Minnesota. He's got a lot of followers in that area.
2-pounder.
A lot of the local
on that one.
A lot of the local people are really interested in seeing how Jim's doing.
It's amazing that they can gain such a following in a 3-month bass fishing season up here.
Trying to represent my fellow competitors. Is what I'm trying. Trying to show the nation that, hey, Minnesota's got some good bass fishermen. There's one. Nice fish. Nice fish.
Good fish.
Good
Real
fish.
Good. Good job. Good job. Yes.
Jim Moynagh is pleasing the home folks today. I tell you what, his rooters have something to root for.
And they're going to take these fish to the mall and weigh them. I heard Forrest Wood say that the fish would be excited about that because they had never seen the mall before.
You and me either.
Biggest one of the day there.
Shoot, yeah.
3-pound fish.
I'm the last guy to weigh in. Ted Capra, the legendary Ted Capra of Lake Minnetonka, sitting in the 5th spot. Craig Wickland from Minnesota sitting like 2nd or 3rd. So it's my turn to weigh, and I know it's going to be close. And I know Ted's concerned. That's when Ted gave his speech saying, quote,
"We got one more guy yet to weigh in. How do you feel? A little nervous?"
That guy's been a thorn in my side since he started fishing.
The guy to beat now, a local favorite, Ted Capra's thorn in his side. He's welcome from Hopkins, Minnesota, Jim Moynagh. Come on up, Jim.
so that was it was a compliment. I always take that as a big compliment from Ted.
Jim, 12 pounds and 1 ounce. Ted Capra is currently in 5th. Have you got enough to knock him out of there?
I want to say yes. I think I do, but I've been wrong before.
What do you think? If you set them up there, what are they going to weigh?
13.
13 pounds. Let's set them up there and let's see. 5 fish for Jim Moynagh. 5 fish, all 5 alive in the weight. 13 pounds and 9 ounces. 13.9 for Jim Moynagh.
But I weigh my fish, and sure enough, they were just enough to bump Ted out of 5th into 6th, and that put myself into the 5th. I got the 5th and last qualifying spot. So, sorry, Ted. We've changed sections of the Lake of Minnetonka. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Lake Minnetonka, it's basically a series of many connected basins, many connected lakes. And they're all a little bit different. Like where we had been fishing, weed lines are out to like 15, 16, 17 feet. But now we changed to a part of the lake or one of these lakes where there's like a heavy algae bloom in here. So your weed lines in here. So with the heavy algae bloom, you got less light penetration. And the weed lines here are maybe 5 feet in this bay. And a lot of the fish are shallow in this dirtier water. Some of them get out on some of the rocks and stuff. But we're gonna try fishing a lot of the shallow cover, which means some of the boat docks that you can see behind me. And there's gonna be some lily pads and maybe some shallow rock and that sort of thing. So when I was fishing Lake Erie, there we go. There's our dirty water largemouth right there. That was on this Texas rig. About just under 2 pound fish. So, well, that's cool. Didn't take long. We haven't even fished it. I mean, it's really the first dock. There's some lily pads. The fish was related more in the lily pads than it was that dock. One thing I want to say about fishing Lake Minnetonka in September is you kind of can just pick how you like to catch them and then go find a part of the lake that suits your style. In September, you can run into quality fish out on the deep weed line. You can run into quality fish up shallow in September. So however you like to fish, you can usually find some part of the lake that suits your style and you have a good chance of catching a good bunch of quality fish. So as you can see now, we're up shallow in some murky water and I fully anticipate catching a few nice ones. All right, there's another one. Didn't even really move the boat after. Thank you, fish. All right, re-rig this.
You gonna talk about why you're flipping that instead of a jig? Kind of talk about the slime thing?
Yeah, okay. All right, so now the last couple of fish you've seen me catch on this Texas rig creature bait. Normally when I'm dock fishing in this dirty water like this, I'm using just a straight up jig. However, there seems to be a lot of like black algae, like stringy black algae covering the bottom in certain patches around here. So when I drag that jig through it, it just like looks like a mop with all this algae hanging on it. Whereas this is going through that algae much better and staying a lot more clean. But normally I like the jig just because I feel like I have a better hookup ratio. You know, I just put more fish in the boat per bite, it seems like with that jig. On fire now, baby. Okay, still got the power poles down. Caught another one. They're not big though, but I'm having a good time with these. As long as I'm getting bit, that's cool. And one thing I'll mention, I mentioned all this black slime on the bottom here, which is why I'm using this Texas rig. You gotta hop the bait. You can't just drag it because you will just coat the bait with that slime. So you got to hop it along. So that's what I've been doing, just popping it off the bottom, just a few inches at a time. So anyways, day 4 comes.
Good fixing. I got the overcast weather I wanted. We're going to keep it home here in Minnesota. I got a feeling. Me or Craig, one of us two are going to do it. Jim Moynagh, one of the guys who's going to fish for the $200,000 first prize. $200,000 first prize. This is big. Like we say, don't lose your spot. The Walmart FLW Tour comes to Lake Minnetonka for the Forrest Wood Open.
It was a nasty weather day with there were like severe weather warnings and so forth. And it was a big, I mean, I was really concerned about even just getting around and just what was going to happen. But it wasn't the best day of Minnetonka fishing for me, but I only had to beat 4 other guys. And gosh, it must have been around mid to later morning when I was out there in Spring Park area on one of my favorite spots, and I caught like 1 over 4 pounds on a football head. There he is. Oh yeah, yes. Yes, this is gonna be big fish.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Shit, I think it's foul. Wow. I think it's foul hook. Oh. Oh. Yep, it's over. If I get on these fish, man, this tournament is over. Oh, no, oh, did she eat it? Yeah. Oh, man, it's over. I get these roller fish going, man, it's gonna be done. It's gonna be done, man. Oh. Looks like they stuck their noses out of the weeds today.
And FLW rolled this footage for a few years, and their intros is where I was like saying, man, all right, this thing is over. And that was kind of my tagline quote there in those early years. Even though there was still like 3-4 hours left of the tournament, man, but in my mind, I really felt like it was done. Not because I had all my fish. I had one 4-pounder, but if I'm catching a 4-pounder on a football head, well, I'm gonna just start cashing in on this pattern. Well, it didn't really turn out that way. It turned out, I started hitting all kinds of gravel, rock areas, and I just was not getting bit. I did catch some fish out of some grass, but then the last place I went to, time was running down. Didn't have a lot of time left. I had one spot left I could fish. I went to this last spot and took out the football jig and just hit it. I had nothing, couldn't get a bite. I did lose one there earlier in the day. And then I'm like, man, I just don't have any time to go try anywhere else. So I swung the boat around and from a completely different angle and started throwing right back at the same sweet area from where that I had been hitting. And then I got the bite.
Back to Jim Moynagh, same story, just looking for that one good fish.
One fish that they can do a little bit of culling with. And you know what? These guys are like jockeying for these different positions now. It isn't like the guy that comes in 5th place and is going home short-handed, is it, Tom?
Oh, absolutely not. Of course, we got Jim and Kevin in this great race for first place and the $200,000 first prize.
Boy, they're neck and neck. We would think, anyway.
Second place, think about this, $100,000, which previous to this tournament was the biggest prize in competitive bass
Right,
fishing.
and the guy who wins that will probably have never made anything near.
Absolutely not. Third place, $50,000. Fourth place is $35,000, and $30,000 for 5th place. Today, the last man in the field today gets $30,000. So there's a big difference though between 3rd place and 4th place, $15,000, and that's gonna get their attention as well.
So no wonder Jim is being very careful to cull the right fish. Wouldn't you hate to throw one away that was 2 ounces, about 2 ounces heavier, and you made a mistake,
and you lose by one?
And you lose by one. Ooh. You wouldn't want to do that. I think I said last week that at the final, it was probably going to be somebody winning by a half a pound. I may have been right.
The tournament weigh-in, at least the days 3 and 4, were done at the Mall of America, which is the biggest shopping mall in the world or the country or whatever. But anyways, so you bring these fish in there and you're wearing this, I think they call it the rotunda, and you got people on the 2nd floor, 3rd floor, just looking over the railings. I'm seeing signs, Moynagh, go Moynagh or whatever. So signs are hanging from people that know me and family and that. So that was really special. And then when tell you what, when the scale, I'm getting emotional. When the scale read the winning weight, I dang near jumped and hit the ceiling. Yes, it was such an exciting moment.
Jim Moynagh has got to have 3 pounds and 4 ounces to win the $200,000 first prize. 1 fish left, maybe. So let's do it. Jim, go to it. Oh! Oh, no! Oh, my God! Don't do that to me! God! Oh, my God! Looking for 3 pounds, 4 ounces. Looking for 3-4. Put it on there, Jim. Looking for 3 pounds, 4 ounces. 3 pounds, 4 ounces. 4 pounds, 1 ounce. Jim Moynagh wins it. Jim, stay up. We'll talk to you in just a second. Jim, take a deep breath now. Oh, man. Oh, can you talk?
Yeah, I can talk. This is unbelievable. I mean, I put so much pressure on myself to do well in this tournament, and I really put a lot of expectations on myself, and to be able to come through like this. I had no idea if I could win today or not. All 5 of these guys have been catching fish all week, and I didn't know if I could catch any more or what, and it just panned out, I guess.
It was quite the day, quite the afternoon. And even to this day, we're like 25 years past, I don't know, about every other year I find myself in the Mall of America, and I always make it a special. I always make a special trip to the rotunda there, just to relive that moment. It's kind of cool. When it's your only national tournament win, I guess that's what you got to do. So, but yeah, so that 200,000. Well, here's the other thing that I'll never forget is, so when they're up there announcing you as the winner and handing you the trophy, back then they kind of dramatized things a little bit. So they'd have like a security guy with a gun and a holster there with a briefcase, and they'd flash open this briefcase and it'd be like stacks of cash. It was probably fake money, I don't know, but they'd have stacks of cash. And else I could think of at that point when that guy showed up with that briefcase was, and they did not hand me this briefcase of money. They ended up handing you a check, a real check. But all I'm thinking is, how am I going to get out of here with this briefcase of cash in one piece? So, but I did, but not with the briefcase, because they actually hand you a check. So. But yeah, from there, that's my one national tour tournament win that I have. So really, just the wind was. I had full sails in '95, up to '97, '98, '99. Full sails, just flying down the frickin' ocean with full sails. And then it's been a long career. Some years you lose the wind in your sails, and other years you recatch it and just cut water. So, but here I am, many years later, still catching fish on a football jig.